So I think I found a laptop that can straight up compete with my MacBook Air, being a Mac user, just kind of straight up. I use that as my day-to-day laptop. Obviously testing a ton of Windows devices. This is probably one of the better ones, obviously chassis-wise, that I've used. So this is the brand new Galaxy Book 4 Pro. This one's the 360-degree one, so this can theoretically fold all the way around. You can use it in tent mode. Would I pay that extra? I think it's like $100 to have this. Probably not. I would just recommend the Galaxy Book 4 Pro, but if you're an artist, if you love to use the tablet, it does come with an S Pen. I think this is a great option. But like I said, I think this spec is perfect for that everyday user, someone that wants Windows, someone that just wants to get stuff done. If you're into editing, if you're into content creation, you know, as long as you're keeping it on the lighter side, nothing too crazy like 4K, 8K stuff. Watching content, everything on this beautiful OLED display looks absolutely gorgeous. Think of this as like a MacBook, you know, Air, the larger one. This is a 16-inch model with an OLED panel and obviously Windows, and that says a lot. So first off with the chassis, it's all aluminum. There's no weird squeaks. It feels solid. I actually like the fact that Samsung's gone away from like that midnight, that dark blue color from last year. They've gone to just a standard silver. It helps hide fingerprints better. Even my M3 15-inch MacBook Air with the midnight color with that new anodization process to help with fingerprints, it doesn't actually help. It still collects a ton of them. Get something that's silver, it just hides the greasy fingerprints, hides smudges. It's just a lot better. I will say though, the one thing that I have noticed, the hinge mechanism. So comparing the two, this hinge is a lot looser, and I'm not too sure if it's because I have the 360-degree model to get that into that tent mode. Obviously, using say like the MacBook Air, that kind of just locks into place, but this is abnormally loose. Obviously, most people won't be doing this with their laptop, but like I said, I think it's because this has the hinge, maybe another reason to get just the standard 4 Pro. Profile-wise, razor thin, and on the ports, we still have a full-size HDMI, which I like, 2 USB-C ports, and on the other side, I love that they have still a standard USB-A, and obviously a micro SD card slot. Maybe the only gripe is to kind of bump that up to full size. I think a lot of creators would love that, and obviously a headphone jack on the side. And on the inside, since this is a 16-inch display, we got a full-size trackpad with a dedicated numpad on the side, which I'm always a fan of. Extra large trackpad, which is nice. It's just, I guess, technically off center on the chassis, but in line with the keyboard. It makes sense if you're using the trackpad, you can kind of rest your palm here. But for the most part, when you're typing out emails, when you're writing up documents, it feels super comfortable. Obviously chiclet style keyboard, which just to keep that low form factor and thin profile. So I would say the interesting part about this, it is using the new Intel chipset inside. So it's the latest Meteor Lake, it's the Core Ultra 7. That's kind of their mid-range chipset, which checks out. But the biggest improvement comes to the ARC graphics, way better than the previous gen integrated graphics. Does this run AAA titles? No. Maybe on some higher end titles, you can run them on lower graphics. But to be honest, I personally am addicted to a game called MapleStory. It's this weird 2D MMO, which I used to play in high school. Log a couple hours, obviously the game works perfectly fine on this. I kind of switch between that and obviously getting work done, being productive. I think that's what this kind of laptop is for, or who it's suited towards. Everything else that you run on it is very quick and snappy. I actually edited a quick little vid, like the short form piece, like for Reels, for YouTube Shorts on this. That was fine. I'll share some Geekbench scores. I know that numbers don't always reflect performance, but really in those integrated ARC graphics, you'll see a big jump. So for the Book 4 Ultra, that's where you get like a dedicated graphics card. I don't think most people should stray to the Ultra version unless you really need that extra processing power. This one should be fine. Weirdly enough though, this kind of spec'd in Canada, you can get this with a 512 gig hard drive. For people in the US, it's only at 1 terabyte, 16 gigs of RAM. Unfortunately, you can't spec this up to 32 gigs. I wish we saw that option. Most people will hold on to their laptop now for 3, 4, 5 years. I'd love to see the option to future-proof it, but you're paying around like $1,700, $2,000 for this machine. Canadian sadly shafted with the exchange, $2,500, but like I said, at least we can spec it with 512 gigs, which is only 1,800 bucks. Like I said, I think the star of the show here has to be the OLED screen. It is absolutely gorgeous to watch any sort of content. I've actually been binge watching Shogun on this. It looks great. Those really dark scenes, it obviously crushes the blacks really well. It just looks so inky. It's a 3K panel, 120 hertz, of course, touchscreen as well. So it has all the bells and whistles. Probably one of my favorite laptop displays. Maybe only let down by this small little bezel, but you know, the webcam, it's only 2 megapixels. It is HD, but for most stuff like I guess Zoom calls, Teams meetings, it will suffice, but it's one thing that is a bit lacking. Another thing is the speaker. So it's a quad speaker setup. They are downwards firing, so it doesn't give the best depth. Like, I think it could be like a bit deeper, a bit bass heavier. It just doesn't quite have that depth that you'd expect for a larger machine. It's good, it's adequate. Most people usually rock headphones anyway, but once again, something to think about. Last but not least, battery life. This is where, you know, Apple computers still are kind of king of the castle. You're still looking at like 18 hours on the M3 MacBook Air. While I was using this, the most that I got was like 10, 11 hours with just very light use. Obviously, once you start to run games, anything heavy, I would drop like 40% in an hour. I usually try to run this on the optimized mode to help save battery, but still, pretty good for a PC. The Meteor Lake chipset is obviously a lot more efficient, but yeah, that is kind of my nutshell review of the new Galaxy Book 4 Pro, obviously the 360. It's honestly been a great day-to-day laptop. The build on it is something that I've been super impressed with. Obviously the form factor, it's still super light, still super portable, kind of crunches through my regular stuff. I would definitely recommend this to most people. Windows laptop, it's like a MacBook, but has a better display, and I think that is a pretty high praise. Let me know your thoughts down below. There are a couple drawbacks like that wobbly screen. I wish you could put 32 gigs of RAM in this, but I think it is a pretty solid package. I'll catch the rest of you in one of my next vids, and let me know if you would take this or an M3 MacBook Air. Peace.